Dainsleif has a brother, Folklers didn't outwit the heavenly principles, and the Battle Pass cutscene is from the future. Sit back and grab a snack because we have a lot to discuss. Starting at the Dainsleif appearance, we finally learn who the Sinner Crystal is, along with another major lore bomb.
The sinner you wish to know about, his situation is different. He and his fellow sinners have long betrayed me, and long betrayed their nation. His name is Vedrfolnir, the Visionary. I'm loath to admit it, but he is also my kin, my older brother.
He then goes on to say that there were 5 sinners in total: Daughter, Hroptadir, Rerir, Sertology, and Visifnir. Before the Cataclysm, Khaenri'ah was constantly fighting off abyssal threats due to their proximity to it. But knowing the power within the abyss, the sinners continued their experiments in the name of gaining power. This ultimately led to an outbreak of abyssal beasts that overtook Khaenri'ah before spilling out onto Teyvat. The monsters began wreaking havoc on Teyvat and its inhabitants, ultimately forcing the heavenly principles to step in. In the end, the people of Khaenri'ah were cursed, and the nation was destroyed, saving Teyvat in the process. Lumine encountered Visifnir sometime after the Cataclysm, but it doesn't sound like there was any bad blood between them, unlike Visifnir and Dainsleif's relationship. This raises questions since it sounds like Dainsleif was the only person trying to stop the Cataclysm, yet Lumine considers him a traitor. I can't help but wonder if Dainsleif and Lumine had different opinions on how to go about the Cataclysm. Given her disdain for the heavenly principles, Lumine may have wanted Dainsleif to help her, the 5 sinners, gain the power to completely eradicate Celestia. Dainsleif might be considered a traitor now because he's trying to stop them from gaining more power to save Teyvat instead of helping. However, although the sinners have world-shattering power, they may use it in other ways that don't involve destroying the world. Sertology may use it to improve his combat prowess, which is why Skirk trains under him. Daughter uses it to create life in her primordial human project, with some examples being Durin, Alina's, and Albedo. Dainsleif's brother, Visifnir, may use it to study fate and Uraminsel, which is why he could foresee Fontaine's prophecy and notice Aether and Lumine's memories. He's also described as the one who understands fate in the Keribert quest description, so he likely studies the workings of Uraminsel. Hroptadir might study outside worlds since the direct translation of his title is the Mage. Hero was previously a royal mage in Khaenri'ah who failed to stop the Grand Sages from tearing away the veil of sin that led to the Cataclysm. Since Hroptadir was the mage whose actions resulted in the Cataclysm, he could be one of the sages Pyrrho talks about. Rerir, or Moon Hunter, may have focused on the study of astrology and the system. On the flip side, he could have been hunting down the descendants of the Crimson Moon Dynasty, which was replaced by the Black Sun Dynasty during the Archon War. But any potential motives he'd have for doing so are currently unknown. Moving on, Keribert gives us some insight into the Loom of Fate.
Extreme sorrow and pain, hope and regret coursing through your veins, and a degree of abyssal power that defies comprehension. As for your question, the Loom of Fate is a device capable of weaving ley lines. In its primitive form, it can only be used to create and implant memories.
So not only could Keribert live on in his realm of consciousness after death, but he was also a mere part used for constructing the Loom of Fate. Speaking of which, we finally learn what the Loom of Fate is for: changing memories and creating new ley lines. The only other person who's been shown to have this ability is none other than the god of time, Istaroth. With that in mind, I can't help but wonder if the Loom of Fate is supposed to be a mimic of Istaroth's abilities. If so, this also gives us a gauge of how powerful the Primordial One is if a mere shade of it can do something that others with world-shattering power can't do by themselves. But while on the Loom of Fate, I also believe we've already been shown what it will be used for all the way back in 1.0. Throughout the quest, Dainsleif and the Abyss Order highlight the importance of the Eye of the First Field Tiller. Not only did Lumine fight him to retrieve it, but Keribert also says it was needed to create the Loom of Fate, a device capable of weaving new ley lines. And that's what brings us to the Battle Pass. In the Battle Pass animation, we're shown the story of two crowned heirs. At first glance, it looks like the princess was tasked with finding and collecting a pearl but got corrupted during the journey. This pearl is none other than the Genesis Pearl, also known as the Pearl of Creation. But a dark power consumed the pearl, and the princess was deceived, causing the memories of her noble origins to fade. In the end, she's shown sitting on her throne with thorny branches growing around her and on her crown. So, how is this relevant to the quest? Well, what if I were to say that the Genesis Pearl in the Battle Pass actually is the eye of the first field tiller? Allow me to explain. To create the Loom of Fate, the Abyss Order combined the eye and the immense abyssal power that the sinner gave to Caribert. In its incomplete form, the Loom can create false memories, and when combined, it can create entirely new ley lines. With that in mind, we can observe the Battle Pass differently. What if the abyssal power from the Dark Snake that merges with the Pearl represents the abyssal power from Caribert and Visenfer merging with the eye of the first field tiller? If so, the princess's loss of memories could represent the Loom of Fate's ability to change memories. And remember those dark, thorny vines that grow around the princess? They represent the new ley lines that can be created with the Loom of Fate once complete. And if Lumine isn't stopped soon, she will also be consumed by power, just like the princess in the cutscene.
Yet, deep within, the five of them craved something more. They could not resist the call of the abyss, and divided among themselves a power that could destroy the world. Indeed, if they are not stopped, the day is sure to come when they will also betray the entire world.
And that kingdom of darkness the princess rules over in the Battle Pass? Let's just say that the ley lines woven by the Loom of Fate will be very important for Conria, the dream yet to be dreamed. Or should I say, the timeline that has yet to be woven. When that day comes and Lumine gets corrupted, either will need to save her, just like the second crowned heir in the Battle Pass, but not before proving he is ready to face her and her world-shattering power by defeating Dainsleif.
Step forth if you have understood the meaning of your journey. Defeat me. Command me to step aside. Show me that you are worthier than I to rescue her. Then, the threads of all fate will be yours to reweave.
Brain rot aside, we also got a bombshell from Lumine regarding the heavenly principles.
But there's still time before the heavenly principles awaken. For 500 years now, ever since the cataclysm in Conria, there's been no sign of activity. Not long ago, you witnessed the Hydro Archon destroy her divine throne. Such a flagrant disregard for the rules, and still Celestia took no action. However, the heavenly principles will awaken. We just don't know when that will be, or what might trigger it.
So, not only will the heavenly principles awaken, but it also sounds like Focalers did not completely trick Celestia. They're just taking a nap. If she is correct and Celestia will deal with things once they wake up, Teyvat is done for. Maybe it was right to halt Inazuma's progress. That aside, Lumine harbors much hate for the heavenly principles. Not just for what they did to Caribert and the others that they cursed, but for a deeper reason we cannot yet understand. I think Lumine have been implying that there might have been some foul play. One possibility is that it has something to do with what Nahida said about her belonging to the world.
There is only one possible explanation. She belongs to this world.
Perhaps Celestia did something that sold her to the fate of the world permanently, which is why she had to turn to the power of the Abyss, the only thing capable of rivaling them. The second possibility is that it has something to do with Aether and Lumine and their real reason for arriving in Teyvat.
Why? Why can't we continue our journey together?
At the end of my journey, I arrived at a place known as the Sea of Flowers at the end. Do you remember? A long time ago, when we traveled between worlds together, you told me you wanted to find a place in the universe where that one flower was in full bloom. To have a place like that suddenly appear before me. Well, would you think of that as a coincidence?
During their previous travels, Aether told Lumine that he wanted to find a place where the Indivats in her hair would bloom. So for Lumine to have suddenly come across the Sea of Flowers, it sounds like their visit to Teyvat was no mere coincidence but a fated arrival. I have come to two conclusions about what their fated arrival may mean. The more logical answer is that a higher power like Istaroth or a divine being in Conria found out about the twins and summoned them for a purpose. But my biased answer is that their original homeland may have had some connections to Teyvat. During the Narzi Senkryu's Ordo World quest, Aether says that Teyvats grew in their original homeland but will be hard to find now. They should be hard to find because, to his knowledge, their homeland was destroyed. Your homeland has been destroyed. All of the architectures have reduced to dust. You are originally the one that should own your world and embrace the people within. But the last descendant of the subjugated civilization, please do not lament the lost moments. But for some reason, Teyvats happen to be the national flower of Conria. And during the Mondstadt quest, the Abyss Order called it the twins' homeland and talked about it returning to Teyvat, almost as if it was originally there.
Your Highness, your humble servant returns. When your homeland returns to this world, we shall revel in its glory.
So what if their destroyed homeland was actually flattened and used as the building blocks for a new world called Teyvat? As long as your attitude of nobleness and kindness does not change in the new world, there will always be best companions to travel with you. Where you are going ahead and where your future lies, your new world will unfold before you. Welcome to the world. It's always struck me as odd that Lumine has such a connection to Conria that she didn't wake Aether up until it was destroyed. But if they're somehow connected to those within it, the puzzle pieces would start to fit.
I miss you too, Aether. But as this war continues to rage, and as I continue to seek that final answer, I don't even know how to face myself sometimes, let alone my own brother.
From the way she speaks in the scene, it sounds as if Lumine's actions aren't something she necessarily wants to do but are things that must be done. Her fight to find the truth, which may or may not be connected to their homeland, is her war with destiny. A war that won't cease until the Abyss engulfs the usurper's divine thrones in the sky. A war that will, ultimately, engulf Lumine in the process and leave Aether all alone unless he can save her.
Home. Yes. Of course. Home is wherever we are together. But I cannot go with you to the next world to find a new home. At least, not yet. Until the Abyss has engulfed the thrones, my war with destiny will see no end.
But who knows? These are just my outlandish speculations. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and or subscribing. I hope you all have a great rest of your days, evenings, and nights. See you at the Iraminsel.